Well, of course. I mean, let's turn our thoughts quickly to Serie A. You talked about Romelu Lukaku and your attempts to doorstep Roma's management as they sealed the deal with Chelsea. What do you make of this move? Because there's been a little bit of ambivalence, not so much from the Roma fans, but certainly from the press in Italy, about whether this is actually a good idea.
I think some elements of the press are a bit fed up with this story, even though it's helped them sell a lot of newspapers over this summer, because certainly the story of Lukaku supposedly going to Inter and then it all falling flat was a big story. But I think last year was, for 2/3 of the season, was underwhelming because of the injury that he suffered, because of the World Cup in the middle, because he went 7 or 8 months without a goal from open play. He did finish the season really strongly, but not strongly enough for Inzaghi to play him in the big games. Because, in fairness to Inzaghi, if you're without Lukaku for so long, and the guy who's playing in his stead is scoring for you in big games, then I'm sorry, you just pick the guy who was there for you. So I think that's affected some of the perceptions of Lukaku and that.
What do you think, though, James? Do you think it's going to work for him this time under Mourinho?
Look, I mean, it's been presented as a show of ambition from Roma, that they want to get back into the Champions League places for the first time in a long time. It's only going to be for 1 year. And I think, again, I find it hard to get attached to players who are only going to be there for 1 year.
Fair enough.
But it's also Mourinho's last year. And so, Mourinho has to... I think the problem that Mourinho has got this season is, are the last 2 years as good as it's going to get for him in Rome? Because to go to 2 finals, win a Conference League, then reach a Europa League final and ultimately lose it, what else can he do that's going to be bigger and better than that? And so this is there to kind of hide what has been a very disappointing start to the season, where they drew at home with Salernitana and they lost to Hellas Verona at the weekend. And the thing is, you can say this Roma team is limited, but they've got Paulo Dybala, they've got Lorenzo Pellegrini, they've got Belotti, who, like Dybala, has scored more than 100 league goals in his career.
They just went a season without scoring in the league.
But he just scored again. He scored again.
But he, I mean, you have to ask, with Belotti last year, he arrives injured. He wants to kind of make an impression, perhaps overdoes it, and then loses confidence. You can kind of see, but he's a player who's scored more than 100 goals in his career in Serie A.
Dybala equally, there is the injury issue with him, and again, we've seen this weekend him here. I'm not sure how long he's likely to be out for beyond the international break.
No, the club don't think it's a bad injury.
Okay.
And to be honest, he played far more than anyone expected him to do last season. And then they've got Lukaku, who was the league's MVP 3 years ago. And so it makes me ask the question, is top 4, is it really this kind of El Dorado? Is it really that difficult to get into the top 4 with this amount of firepower?
And Azmoun does arrive.
Azmoun, Renato Sanchez,
Aouar, but I mean, he's already injured. And I mean, Mourinho keeps saying, these players would never come to our club.
Right.
If they'd had a good season last season, that's what he said about Azmoun, which is, fantastic. And then B, if they didn't have injury problems. He's like, we have to take chances on these players. The reality is they have to take chances on these players is because they blew 100 million in his first summer without selling anyone, and now they're under all these financial fair play constraints. But I wonder, presenting getting into the top 4 as though it's like winning a league title. When you've got these players up front, should you not be aspiring for more? Maybe
Right. Well,
it's Jose Mourinho. I mean, people expect him to win league titles, and I know it's it's difficult at Roma, but I think the club have really stretched themselves to the point that I thought this Lukaku deal was impossible to pull off, be it on wages and that sort of thing. And yet they've made this extra effort. And so, you know,
it's going to be interesting.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, like, the challenge for Jose really is, like, you know, after giving this impression the last 2 years of, like, doing far more with the hand that he was dealt than most people thought he could do. To what does this third year hold for him in terms of, can he go out on a high? Because it doesn't look like he's going to sign a new contract at this moment in time. And is finishing fourth a high?
Yeah.
You know, it certainly wouldn't have been considered that 3, 4, 5 years ago. I mean, Roma used to always qualify for the Champions League under Pallotta when Pallotta was the owner. You know, they would finish second, and okay, the league has maybe got more competitive since then, but the league is also being won by teams that aren't putting up the kind of points that Juventus were putting up when Pallotta was the owner of Roma. So
fair point. Hello there. If you've enjoyed this video, why not subscribe to this channel? The Totally Football Show podcast is available 3 times a week, bringing you all the football news you could reasonably be expected to care about. We've got views, we've got stats, we've got analysis, we've got some of the best football writers around, and the whole thing is absolutely free. So have a listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or all the usual places by clicking on the link below.